Welcome to the AutoSuccess Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today, my guest is Paul Sansone Jr. Welcome, Paul.
Well, thank you, Brian, for having me out here today. We have a beautiful day in Ohio and excited for our conversation.
Well, great. I kind of want to ask you a little bit about your career path because you've done a lot of things. You have dealerships, you have technology company, you have a banking company with your with your leasing.
Right.
I mean, we're here today to talk about a lot about that, but I'd like to kind of figure out where all that fits in and what your career path has looked like.
Well, it starts out that I'm a second-generation car dealer. My father is still very active in the business and has a very large dealer group. So I was always passionate about being in the business. We worked together for 25, 30 years. And at some point in time, we decided it was better to separate. And I started my own company, my own dealerships. And I currently have several stores in Central Jersey. But these other companies that you mentioned really spring off of retail selling. So everything that I do is started with selling cars. I'm passionate about it. I love I love the business, and just have developed other products that sort of make selling cars,
Easier,
more profitable, easier. Yeah.
I do want to get to dealer-controlled leasing, but before we go there, I know that employee retention is a big deal to you, and you'd mentioned some of your tech products and how that helps you retain your employees. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, many years ago, I was very frustrated with the low margins at the dealership. Dealerships weren't making a whole lot of money. I was looking at some of the statistics and the high sales turnover. I'm a Nissan dealer, and at that point in time, again, 10 years ago or so, Nissan as a region had almost a 200% sales turnover. So I'd actually gotten to the point where I thought the art of a professional salesperson had left the business. And to me, I'm a dealer that I'm a simple guy. I believe if my handshake is better than your handshake, I'm going to win more often than not. And that all starts with a professional salesperson. So I really focused on sales retention. And as I said, Nissan at that 200% turnover, I was like, well, how does anything positive happen to that? How do you get owner retention with that kind of turnover? How do you get brand loyalty with that turnover? How do you have margin? This is a relationship business. The only way you make margin is with a relationship. If we are just price negotiating, it's just going to be a race to the bottom. So I took a salesman, and every salesman has been told, you're a business within a business. And I said, okay, how do I help my salesman truly become a business in a business? And it started with a product called Easy Referral Network. So what salesperson doesn't want to build a referral network? So I created this nice referral program called Easy Referral Network, where you as salesman can build your network of customers. It actually is still active today. You get debit card payments, so it's very much like a factory program, but I developed this over 10 years ago. And then that sort of morphed into what business doesn't market themselves, and that created Tier 4 marketing. At that point in time, salesmen getting on social media, wasn't a big thing, but I certainly felt that if I'm a salesman and I was comfortable with social media, how do I get my name and my brand out there? And we were very successful in training and coaching salesmen and providing products that allowed them to market themselves. And, I have salesmen, Mark the Pie Guy, Gotta Get a Car, Rudy, Rudy the Credit Expert. I mean, so I have many salesmen that are still with me today that have their own brand, because it all gets down to, if I could help them earn more money, they'll want to stay with me, and I support that initiative and have for many, many years. And I virtually have zero turnover. All these names are people that have been with me almost from day one.
Wow. Now, how has that affected the business? I mean, as far as sales growth and margins, I mean, has it helped a lot? Or
the only thing I could say is I have virtually no sales turnover or management turnover, which, again, in this industry is still a nice thing to have. I have very high owner loyalty. I have very high return on sales. So I could just say that it's worked all the way through for everybody. Wow. And actually, I just joined a Kia 20 group. And our average salesman, my average compensation, my average salesman made almost double what the average salesman in the group did. But my compensation was in line. I'm very, very profitable towards the top of the group in that regard. And you're looking at the numbers and say, well, this guy overpays. And the fact of the matter is I don't overpay, I just get them to produce more. Our average salesman almost sells and delivers 20 cars a month at very high margins. Mm-hmm. So to me, that's the nucleus of success, is high productivity, high employee retention, and obviously high customer satisfaction that goes along with it.
Interesting. Well, you and I had discussed something about a week ago, and I had not heard this term before, but you mentioned that your dealerships are in an emerging Hispanic market.
Yes.
What are you doing to serve that emerging Hispanic market, and what does that mean?
Well, there are some areas, Miami, New York, Los Angeles, that are Hispanic markets. I mean, the population is, it's another common language that's spoken. My area in New Jersey is what I characterize as emerging. Obviously, there's pockets of Hispanic communities that are growing, and as I talked to several dealers, other than one dealer in Montana, almost every dealer I have spoken to has an emerging immigrant, but mostly Hispanic community. Mm-hmm. And so I actually said, if this is a community that I want, obviously I'm not Hispanic, but if this is a community that I want to serve and a community that I want to come to my business, I have to make an effort to communicate to them the right way, have the proper sales representation, service, and everywhere along the line, finance. So I really went out and I call it. I was very purposeful in trying to accomplish having a very Hispanic-friendly dealership. Mm-hmm. And it really starts by hiring people that speak the native language. So that was very important. And everyone says, well, how do you do that? Some of it's just networking through the churches and some of the local organizations.
That's interesting.
Yeah, no,
it's a good idea.
Yeah, we did a very good job of growing the Hispanic sales and employees, everything from BDC, service writers, everything. And most of it's ended up being referrals and people that were recommended to come work for us. And then obviously there's the marketing side of it. So I have my regular marketing company, and I have a marketing company that caters to the Hispanic. I have a separate website, Sansone Jr. Latino, so that the community, you're not bringing somebody from the back to come out to translate. They feel very welcomed, and they feel that it's just a part of business. And it's been a spectacular growth pattern over the last few years. I mean, it represents now almost a third of my sales at my dealership.
I was going to say, with your ability to retain your employees and provide them with a great work environment, you probably, once you got a few people in that were able to speak the language, they probably told their friends, like, hey, this is a great place to work. You got to come talk to Paul.
I got to tell you, the Hispanic salespeople that work for me have a full marketing plan behind it. They do very, very well, but they are entrenched in their communities. It's really, it's nice to see people grow. One of our most successful stories is a young lady that was actually serving tables, worked for a catering company. Now she's the breadwinner of her family, supporting other family members coming into the country. And this is a 26-year-old girl. Actually, I think she just closed on her house. I almost got goosebumps. Seriously, I love hearing stories about providing that opportunity. I'm almost positive she just closed on her house this week. And to me, those are the things that I really get excited about as far as the human element of my business, that this industry can provide those type of opportunities for people. But it takes a structure, a game plan, and the employees got to be on the same page with you as to what that game plan is.
let's dive into the leasing. You provide a lease here, pay here service at your dealerships
Yes.
to your customers. What inspired you to do that, and kind of what has it looked like so far?
Well, the story is, and when my father and I separated in 08, 09, and for those people that don't remember, 08, 09 was not the right time to be on your own,
Yeah.
with not a lot of money in the bank and trying to be successful as a new car dealer. And I was always comfortable in the credit markets, and customers with less than perfect credit. That was always my go-to area.
Yeah.
And at that point, banks had been shutting down, and there was very little opportunity to help people get approved. I had learned of the ability to help people improve their credit. And I said, what a nice concept. If you come in with low credit score, I can help you improve your credit and sell you a car. And the only problem with that concept is it takes a while to improve your credit. It doesn't happen by the snap of a finger. So people needed a car today. So I actually created a rent-to-own program first. Mm-hmm. And it came from a woman just walking through my showroom. I say hello to my customers quite often, introduce myself. And the woman said, I just can't keep renting a Corolla from a rental company for $1,200 a month. I said, well, I'm a Nissan dealer. I said, so why don't I'll rent you a Sentra for $800 a month. And completely ad lib, I said, hey, look, $800 a month, you work with this credit team to help you build your credit. At the end of 6 months, I'll give you half of your down payment back towards the down payment if you end up buying a car from me. So she did that.
Yeah.
I ended up giving her half of the rental money back as a down payment, and 6 months later, I had a deal. The next day, I'm at the radio station doing my commercials, and I completely ad-libbed at the end of this at the radio, and I said, and don't worry if your credit is less than perfect, our rent-to-own program will have you driving a new Kia today. It was a Kia commercial. Phones blew off the hook. I mean, literally blew up. I called the radio station. I said, pull the ad. Because I didn't actually have a rent-to-own program.
Yeah.
I just was ad-libbing it. So I pulled it off the ad, off the airways, and I said, look, I have to come up with something. So I pieced together a rent-to-own product that worked for many years. Did several hundred deals. And it sort of went away for not that it didn't work, but for various infrastructure reasons, cost of insurance, couldn't report to the credit bureaus, floor planning reasons, etc. So it sort of went by the wayside, but it was still the right concept. And I learned about lease here, pay here. Dealers get barraged with 1 million solicitations a day. Delete, delete, delete. All of a sudden, something just hit lease here, pay here. And that's when I opened up and I read, and I said, lease here, pay here. I never really heard of it. I've heard of buy here, pay here, but I never heard of lease here, pay here. And with the lease here, pay here, I said, well, that satisfies some of the needs. The biggest thing was insurance. And a lease here, pay here, the leasing, the insurance is in the consumer's name, not under my rental company. I said, okay. There was technology behind it. We could report to the credit bureaus. So basically, it rent-to-own transitioned into a lease here, pay here product at my dealership, where over the last 3 years, we've done over 900 leases, predominantly to subprime customers. Mm-hmm. While you're leasing the car, we show you how you can build equity and build your credit score and transition you from a subprime borrower to a near prime or prime borrower, coming back to us as a very loyal customer. So it was a long process, but now I acquired the technology company because I wanted to customize everything to my specific model, and ended up creating a new business called Dealer Controlled Leasing, where we are installing dealer-owned, lease here, pay here. It's almost like having a captive finance department at your dealership, and that's what we're doing now. I mean, as another business, and I'm very fortunate. I've got another generation behind me. As I said, I'm second generation, and my one son is involved with me on the retail side of it. My other son is involved with me on this technology side of it, and it's something that I think we can change the landscape of subprime lending at a dealership, to be honest with you.
Now, when somebody does a lease here, pay here with you, like how long is that contract normally? And are they ready to get into a newer vehicle at a better rate fairly quickly, or what's that
Well,
look like?
our average lease is 38 months, but we can do anything from 12 to 48 month leases. You can do new or used cars. Predominantly used cars. Our average lease is about 38 months, so just say 36 months to make the math work. We actually guarantee our customers that at 2/3 of their lease payments, we can trade them out of their car or help them refinance at lower rates. So in a 36-month lease, in 2 years, I could look you in the eye today and say, hey, Brian, you follow the roadmap, we will be able to either help you refinance this car. You can refinance this car at significantly lower rates and terms, or you can trade up and out. And we've had hundreds and hundreds of people that have done that with an average credit score lift of 160 points. So if you think of somebody that today started as a 520 that in 18 months is a 680, you're
Yeah.
talking about transformational.
Yeah.
And I shared with you the video of that one woman that went up 200 points. I mean, this is a woman that went from couldn't get a car to somebody that's now in a position, to look for homes, look for whatever. I mean, really in a great financial position for herself. Refinanced on a new car, got single digit interest rates. So while I love selling cars, I love making money, I also love serving my community. And I feel that this product by far is the best product for anybody with a low credit score that wants a path forward.
Well, you're making probably friends for life and customers for life. I mean, if somebody comes in and their option would be a super long term on a car they don't want, or they can do a shorter term lease with you, and then 2 years later you've got them into a newer vehicle at a lower payment. I mean, not only did you get to sell them 2 cars in 2 years, but where are they going to buy their next car? They're coming to you.
If you think about somebody with a low credit score that needs a car, you have 3 options. One is no, you can't get approved.
Yeah.
I can solve that for the right person. If you're getting no's, and we have our process and our guidelines and everything, but if you're getting a no, I can say yes because I control the lending process. The other is a buy here, pay here. And again, I'm not going to knock the industry because they serve a purpose, but generally in the buy here, pay here, if the car comes back, they're not as concerned that the car is an asset, where they generally, don't last or higher mileage, older cars. Again, I'm not going to knock the industry. They do serve a purpose, but it's really not something that as a franchise dealer, something I was interested in. So no, buy here, pay here, or a high interest rate long-term loan. We have a comparison tool that shows customers that if you choose the short-term lease with the refinance option, it can save you anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 on the total cost of ownership. I mean, it's significant. And I don't tell people it's the lowest payment. It is by far the lowest cost of ownership. Because the 2 things that have to happen, if you truly want to no longer be a subprime borrower and you want to get into a positive position, 2 things have to happen. You have to improve your credit score and you have to get into an equity position. You can improve your credit score and be $10,000 out of equity. That's not really going to help you.
Yeah.
And how many F&I managers have we heard that say, oh, make your first 12 payments and come back and we'll refinance you?
Yeah, all of them.
And unfortunately, the consumer may have done the right thing, made their payments on time, got caught up on their bills, whatever, but you come back and you're so far out of equity that it can't happen. So you need that equity component in order to make that really work for you. And again, we've had people get approved, couldn't get approved on a car today, now you're approved on a new car lease, 2 years later. You're talking about transformational progress.
Well, saving somebody that is in that position in their life $5,000 to $10,000 in that short amount of time, I mean, that's life changing. I mean, that's a lot of money.
No, that's why I feel that we offer the best product for anyone with a low credit score that needs a car today. Now, I had a situation where I showed a customer the savings, but the payment was unaffordable because the shorter term lease may be a little bit higher in a payment. The number one thing for us is affordability. I don't want to tell you what's in your best interest. I just want to show you choices and let you decide what works best for you and your family, because the number one thing is making sure your payments are made on time.
Let's shift gears for a moment. Let's say I'm a car dealer and I'm sold and I want to replicate what you've been able to do at your dealership. How does dealer-controlled leasing help other dealers to, achieve the same things that you have achieved?
We are a turnkey solution for somebody that basically wants to have a captive in a box. So what does that mean? It means we have all the business rules that have made my dealership successful with it.
Yep.
We have all the technology. The technology is robust from end to end. Everything from structuring deals, comparison between high interest rate long-term loans to a lease, all documentation and paper. We're 50 state compliant with contracts for every state that's out there, collection software, tracking devices on the car. So we know where our cars are at. I mean, because if a dealer wants to do it, as nice as this sound, we do have repossessions. We do have people that don't, make the payments on time. So I still like to look at the success stories, the wins. But the reality is, if a dealer wants to do this, it's very, very, very profitable. But you have to be prepared that you are going to have repossessions. But we do everything we can to protect the dealer's assets. Because remember, I'm a dealer. This is what I'm doing every day. I've made some mistakes along the ways, but 3 years in, we have a significant track record and a very, very profitable business. So basically, we can replicate that to other dealers. And it could be a single point store that wants to go from selling 60, 70 cars a month to 70, 80 cars a month.
Yeah.
It could be a group. I mean, we have a group in the Iowa, Nebraska area, has 10 dealerships. They have a call-in process, and they do electronic sign-ups for every store, basically electronically. So the beauty of it is that it can be a small independent lot, small dealership, mega store, and whatever you want. But conceptually, if you think of the ability to control the lending process and assume also the profitability of being a lender, I mean, subprime banks don't do it because they're generous. They make money.
Yeah.
So now you're making money as the dealer, you're making money as the lender, and then when you bring them back, you're making money again when you bring them back to resell them with the owner retention component. And additionally, for a dealer, there's significant tax benefits. If you have your own reinsurance company, any dealer that is comfortable in that arena or has that as a market, I would strongly urge them to take a solid look at this.
Like for just for the sake of argument, for say a store that's doing 80 cars a month, 1 point, is this like a whole new department? Do I need another manager and new salespeople, or is this something that it's just another way to serve the customers with the people that you already have?
Thank you for bringing that up. Seriously, that's the beauty of this.
Yeah.
While you technically have to have a leasing company. So you're the leasing company, I'm the desk manager, we work side by side. It operates functionally as a department within the dealership. And that's the beauty of it. You don't need a separate lot, you don't need separate inventory. And when I say virtually no additional expense, I mean virtually no additional expense. So your sales manager is now more effective and more profitable because now we are just another lender. So your F&I team can still deliver the car. They just log into our software to do all the paperwork. But functionally, it operates as a department within the dealership as opposed to a separate lot or a separate company down the street. So while it's a separate company, it functionally operates as an integrated department.
How long does it take to get something like this started? I mean, if somebody was interested in doing this, is it something where they're going to be leasing vehicles to their customers in a month, a week? Is it 5 months?
No. It takes, I would say, anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks, depending on how fast the dealer gets us the information we need to set you up. Because we have to set up your own leasing company. It's got its own separate accounting books, automated. I mean, my company collects almost $400,000 a month in payments. All the payments are automatically posted to the accounts. Most of it's electronically collected. So it's not a blizzard of paperwork for a dealership. It's actually a pretty seamless process. We have a staff behind me that will work with controllers on the integration of the accounting between the retail operation and the accounting at the leasing company. Just like a new CRM, a new whatever, you got to learn a little bit of the widgets. But once you do that, you can functionally start operating deals, within 6 to 8 weeks. And it really comes down to three questions. A, how do I fund this? And there's alternatives on how do you fund it. Many dealers have excess capital and want to fund it themselves, and that's a very nice return on your money. So how do you fund it? How do you select good people with low credit scores? And how do you collect? So funding, selection, collection, it is as complicated as someone may make it. It really gets very simplified in that. And we show a dealer how we satisfy each one of those criteria.
How do you handle the selection? Because that's got to be one of the lost arts of the car business is being able to interview a customer and figure out who is a good person to give money to and who probably might not be. Like how do you determine it, and how do you make it like recreatable?
Well, first thing, I agree with you completely. The art of a good credit interview is gone. Something that is as good as I think I am at it. And it bothers me to no end when an F&I manager thinks they worked the deal and all they did was click other lenders to send it to, and they haven't even talked to the customer. So to me, the art of interviewing a customer is important in our process today. And if you ask most dealers, most F&I managers, most general sales managers, if you sat down and talked to the customer with a structured interview, can you tell the difference between somebody that life happened to versus somebody that just doesn't care or pay attention? And I haven't had one person say no. So the interview process is important in our model. I'll get to what we're doing to help replicate it. But the interview process is important, and it does start with talking good people with low credit scores, affordability of payment. Lending is all the same thing. It's affordability of payment, stability, desire. Does the math work? Do they have stable employment, stable residency, and desire? And remember, just because I have my own leasing company doesn't mean every subprime deal goes to my leasing company. There's a selection process. So I still do subprime deals to other subprime banks for people that I don't want to have within my portfolio. Mm-hmm. So you're sort of selecting the ones that best suit your market. ITIN numbers, folks that don't have the Social Security numbers. They've been a phenomenal community for us. Down payments, affordability of payment. Phenomenal pay record with that. But that's just an example of one community. If you control the lending process, you don't have advanced guidelines. You don't have age of car. I can lease a 2013 Camry that's got low mileage. That's a nice car. I can lease a 2010 Camry with low mileage, a car that has to last. And that's the one thing that I want to emphasize is that we absolutely stand behind our cars. The number one thing with this audience is that the car has to be running, reconditioning the cars, and making sure they're really up to speed, whether it be the mileage, age, whatever. Offering alternate transportation for a customer. If their car is laid up, we would provide them alternate transportation free of charge. Now, again, I'm a Nissan dealer. I have rental cars available, so to me, that's not a big leap. To some dealers, it might be. But I want to do everything I can to encourage you to make timely payments so that we can transition you again from that subprime. But, there's so many benefits. As I said, we're keeping cars that I would never have kept before. If I have a car I own for $5,000 or $6,000, normally you wouldn't recondition a car or add another $2,000 or $3,000 on top of it. I can with this program. So again, controlling the lending process allows you to just make decisions that you think are right for yourself, and it's very very empowering, to be honest with you.
Well, I want to shift gears one more time.
Okay.
You've been doing a program called Hope for a Ride for quite some time. Can you talk to us about that? Tell us a little bit about it. How does it work? Is it something that other dealers could get involved in doing?
Well, actually, yes, I would encourage other dealers to do it. Really how it started, as I said, when I separated from my father, I acquired a dealership that did not have a great reputation. Wasn't selling a whole lot of cars, but I said, all right, it's in a very close-knit community. Mm-hmm. I said, all right, how do you change the reputation of the community? So I happened to sell a car to a woman that I knew was involved in the church community. She told me about the Pastoral Alliance. I said, what is the Pastoral Alliance? And it's a group of pastors that all get together, and they said, you can introduce yourself. And anyway, so I started networking to this group to try to, again, get in touch with the community. And obviously, affordable transportation is a great need for a lot of people, and dealers naturally get trade-ins that to them really don't mean a lot. So I created a program called Hope for a Ride, where these pastors actually nominate congregants in their church that they feel transportation will be the one thing that could help them break the barrier to success. And so I don't have people coming to my door and saying, I want a car. We do have a process, and I would give it to any dealer that's interested in doing it. We do have a process. The pastors basically nominate somebody. We try to tie it into an event for them, whether it be a holiday event, a fundraising event, to make it a win-win. And it's really very exciting. Obviously, when you give a car away. But the best story about it is. Again, I keep saying I walk through my showroom, but I do. I really do walk through my showrooms and talk to my customers. And there's a woman that grabbed me, and a busy Saturday, and she said, "Oh, do you remember me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sort of." And she said, "I was one of the first people you gave a car to, and I'm now buying a car." And I said, "That's great." She said, "I'm not giving you the car back because I'm giving it to somebody else."
Oh, wow.
And to me, that was like the success story.
Did you did you get a little tear in your eye?
Yeah, actually, even today I think about it.
Yeah, that's a great story.
Yeah, it's again, I love all the monetary rewards that come out of this business, but there's so many personal things that are nice. And Hope for a Ride is something that I could send the dealer the playbook in a box if they're interested in doing it. I've actually trademarked the brand name and everything, but I don't care about that. I just would love to see other dealers do it and get involved with their community. And we've probably given away over 50 cars. And again, at a Hope for a Ride event, we talked about the Hispanic community.
Yeah.
At a Hope for a Ride event at a church, it was a Hispanic church. That's how employee one or two of that whole initiative of bringing in Hispanic employees, it came out of a Hope for a Ride event. So it just sort of all tied into, into one story.
Well, how can somebody get in touch with you if they wanted to learn more about that program?
Any of the items are probably dealer-controlled leasing is the company that is distributing the captive finance in a box program, the lease here, pay here. So you can go to dealercontrolledleasing.com. I'm Paul Sansone Jr. My dealership is 66 Auto Mall. So you can just go to 66automall.com. There's a button that says talk to the dealer.
Yeah. And
you can talk to the dealer, just click the button, get a hold of me, and I do respond very, very quickly to that. But that's how, but Hope for a Ride is a great product to get involved with your community. It really is nice.
Well, thank you for coming today, Paul. Is there anything more you'd like to share with our audience before we go?
No, other than we are in a big transition period right now. As much as I've been coaching my staff that, we've been in fantasy land the last, whatever it was, 24 months or so.
Yeah.
Be prepared for reality. Reality is there. But the reality is what makes my product today. Developing another business, I should have said this before, but my leasing company will be as profitable as a dealership. 3 years in, my leasing company alone will be as profitable as a dealership with 2 full-time employees.
Wow.
So if you talk about, I need to supplement the revenues that are getting lost, but you have to be committed to the process. Like anything else, it's not going to be a snap of a finger. It's a business. You got to be committed to it. But we can show you the roadmap to that type of success. Well,
in 3 years in, that's not a really that large of a runway. you had to learn all the things that you didn't know and make all the mistakes that you've corrected, and you've still been able to become that profitable. That's impressive.
Yeah, it's a great program for a dealer. And again, now is the time. Guys are saying, I wish I would have started it a few years ago. A few years ago when you're making money hand over fist, or why do I want to buy? Why do I need another project? But the fact of the matter is, those that started it early are now ready to be able to take advantage of the benefits of having your own company like this.
Thank you for coming, Paul.
My pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity to get together and chat.
Thank you for taking the time to join us for this AutoSuccess Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today, my guest has been Paul Sansone Jr. We hope to see you again on a future episode. This one's Over the Curb and Burning Gas.